Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunjabi Hari Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari
Gopi Jana Vallabha
Gopi Jana Ballava Girivardhari Yashoda Nandana Vijana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Vijana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Banachari Yamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev 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 Jaya Gurudev Jaya Vishnupad Brahmansa Shakacharya Justice Shri Srimani Divine Grace of Ayacharya Nadavinda Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Natakoti Vaishnava Vinda Jai Confounded Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Namsa Goho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Dvaita Gadadhara Sri Gaur Bhakti Vinda Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gaur Gopiyas Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Ki Jai Nampi Kam Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Manoyi Ki Jai Gangamai Ki Jai Grace Shri Prabhupada Ki Jai Sagar Govinda Ki Jai Gaur Pranandi Oh, glories to some of the devotees. Glories to some of the devotees. And glories to some of the devotees. Glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Jai Shri Prabhupada. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas, Bhagavad Madhya Lila, Volume 2, Chapters 7 to 11. We're discussing here the talks between Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, were very, 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 very revealing for the devotees of Krishna, because Lord Chaitanya presented all these questions to Ramananda Roy, and Ramananda Roy ostensibly didn't know the answers. It was just foil in a way for the questions of Lord Chaitanya. And of course, Lord Chaitanya knew all the answers, but it was a pastime of Lord Chaitanya asking these questions of Ramananda Roy, and the questions had a certain progression to them, leading to a final outcome, a final result, a final perfection. So Lord Chaitanya is asking questions to Ramananda Roy regarding the purity of a person's activities, a devotee's activities. But actually any person should be a devotee, every person is a devotee, but they forgot. So it's very interesting, because this is how we understand what is the ultimate goal of Krishna consciousness, by carefully reading these questions that Lord Chaitanya is presenting to Ramananda Roy. And we'll see how they get more and more pure in their query there. So I don't know where we are right now, but I'll just start reading on text number 245. Okay. What's that? Mike? I can't hear either. I can't speak. I can't hear. Okay, text 245. On one occasion, the Lord inquired, of all types of education, which is the most important? Is it engineering or sociology, or what is it? Of all types of education, which is the most important? Ramananda Roy replied, no education is important other than the transcendental devotional service of Krishna. Wow. Purport. Text 245 to 257 are all questions and answers between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Roy. In these exchanges, there is an attempt to show the difference between material and spiritual existence. Education in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental and is the best of all forms of education. Material education aims at increasing the activities of material sense gratification. Beyond material sense gratification is another negative form of knowledge called Brahma Vidya. In other words, we should renounce everything in the world and everything is false and try to imagine that we're merging into God. Okay, beyond material sense gratification is another negative form of knowledge called Brahma Vidya, or the impersonal transcendental knowledge. But beyond the Brahma Vidya, or knowledge of the impersonal Brahman, is knowledge of devotional service to the Supreme Lord Vishnu. This knowledge is higher. And higher still is devotional service to Lord Krishna, which is the topmost form of education. According to Srimad Bhagavatam 4:29-49, Tatkarma Paritosham Yatsa Vidya Tanmatir Yaya. Work meant for pleasing the Supreme Lord is the best, and education that enhances one's Krishna consciousness is the best. Also, according to Srimad Bhagavatam 7:5-23-24, this is such a favorite verse of Srila Prabhupada. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, Smarnam Padasevanam, Archanam Vandanam Dasyam, Sakyam Atmanivedanam. Iti Pumsarpita Vishnao, Bhaktish Chen Navalakshana, Kriyeta Bhagavatyada, Tanmanye Ditam Uttamam. This is a statement given by Prahlad Maharaj in answer to a question raised by his father. Prahlad Maharaj said, to hear and chant about Lord Vishnu, to remember him, to serve his lotus feet, to worship him, to offer prayers to him, to become his servant and his friend, to sacrifice everything for his service. All these are varieties of devotional service. One who is engaged in such activities is understood to be educated to the topmost perfection. So how did Hiranyakashipu react to this definition of education? Well, he tried to throw him off a cliff. He tried to get some elephants to stomp on him. He threw him in a pit of snakes. Such a loving father. Anyway, this is the purpose here. Prabhupada says, in these exchanges, there's an attempt to show the difference between material and spiritual existence. Education in Krishna consciousness is always transcendental and is the best of all forms of education. So we know that when Lord Chaitanya, before he, there's two sections of Lord Chaitanya's life, of course. There's 24 years when he was in householder life, and then there's 24 years after he went to Gaya and took initiation. And so during the first 24 years, he lived in Navadvip. He grew up in Navadvip, and he was turned into a great scholar, Nimai Pandit. And he was such a great scholar that everybody was defeated. No matter who challenged him, they were defeated. Lord Chaitanya would not only defeat them, but then he would come back and defeat his own argument, and then defeat that and go back and forth. And people were just like, whoa, who's going to challenge Lord Chaitanya? I mean, Nimai Pandit, forget it. And he was very mischievous at the time, too. He would even make fun of Vaishnavas in a certain way at the time. I can't remember who it was, but he splashed water on him or something like that. So Lord Chaitanya, as Nimai Pandit, was a super scholar, and he knew the scriptures up, down, and sideways, back and forth. But then, and this was all programmed. Then he went to Gaya, and he took initiation from Keshava Bharati, and he became a changed person. He started chanting the holy name with such reverence. He was fainting. The holy name was everything. And he went back to Navadvip, and he had students before, and they would come to him for lessons, and he would give all these lessons, and they would think, oh, my teacher is such a great Pandit, and he's giving all these lessons. And so they went for their lessons again. And Lord Chaitanya, every word that he would talk about in the Shastras that he was reading defined Krishna. It was all about Krishna. Every word was about Krishna. Every sentence was about Krishna. Every subject matter was about Krishna. And the students were like scratching their heads, what's going on here, you know? Everything is Krishna. And they were just like bewildered. And but Lord Chaitanya was in ecstasy. He came back from Gaya, a completely changed personality. And eventually the students even got angry, and they were plotting all sorts of things against Lord Chaitanya. And so Lord Chaitanya realized that in order to have the respect of the public, he would have to take sannyas. And so all the people who loved him so much, of course his mother, and he was married, no one could even imagine Lord Chaitanya taking sannyas. And when his beautiful hair was shorn off of his beautiful head, even the barber fainted, if I'm not mistaken. It was a horrendous occasion. And but Lord Chaitanya, of course, had this mission to enlighten the whole world with pure Krishna bhakti. And so from then on, he went to southern India and he traveled all through the Jarikhanda forest. We all know that he converted all the animals there. They were hugging each other, the lions and the tigers and all the animals became Krishna conscious just by his touch. Everyone became Krishna conscious. The atheists, the Brahmin, the Buddhists, and on and on. So anyway, this question about all types of education, which is the most important, Lord Chaitanya completely revealed that when he was Nimai Pandit, right at the end of his term of being Nimai Pandit. And that should also be our mood, that we cannot really learn anything from the empirical side. Obviously, we have to take some basic instructions as far as how to live our life in this world and so on, but it must be limited. We have to take instructions from pure devotees of Krishna, from Srila Prabhupada, from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and all the great acharyas, and all these incredible scriptures that have been given to us. This is the kind of education we need to feed our creeper. Creeper is the real essence of all of us. Our little creeper there has to be fed with pure transcendental knowledge. And when we chant our rounds, we should be trying to get our mind off of our daily affairs, what we have to do today, and so on and so forth. We should be hankering for tasting the rasa of the holy name. This is real education. This is education that will purify our hearts and that will result in our escaping the hurdle of birth and death, old age and disease. Prabhupada said people are so unintelligent that they don't understand the value of transcendental knowledge. They think, oh, I have a nice life here. I've got a good wife and children. I've had a good education. I'm making a lot of money. I'm in good shape. No problem. But Prabhupada, just like if we look at that video, it's very instructive of Prabhupada in the garden in Los Angeles. He invited all the, what do you call them, the theologians to come, and he was preaching to them. And he was saying, God will come as death. Everything that you think that is valuable to you, your bank balance, your family, your life, everything is taken away. So if you don't believe in God, then this is God coming in the form of death. And people don't think about it. People think, yeah, everybody else has died, but, you know, people are, that's what Prabhupada said. The people are thinking, I won't die. And if I do die, there's nothing afterward. What the heck, you know? So it's actually tremendous ignorance that Prabhupada came to dispel by explaining not only reincarnation. Some people get into reincarnation and then they read books about reincarnation and wow, he was this and he was that and he got regressed and he went back and found out that, you know, actually traced the name and the location where he lived, and people get all excited about these people who take birth over and over again, and isn't that cool? And movies are even made about it. But Prabhupada said reincarnation is not good. We're not meant to be here. We are of another world. We are meant to be in the transcendental world. All this reincarnating is simply because we are renegades from the spiritual world. We've given up that um, beautiful position of simply being the loving servant of Krishna. And we've come down here to enjoy our senses and try to be God in one way or another. And so this is tremendous information that we're getting from these scriptures. We have that double body, the body of the mind and the body, the physical body. And both of these are actually false bodies. But we spend our days most of the time taking care of the body or taking care of the mind and giving very little attention to our real self. So fortunately, we have Srila Prabhupada coming on the Jaladuta, and Prabhupada standing on board the Jaladuta, making a poem and saying, how will these people understand? Are they just going to kick me out as soon as I say no illicit sex, no gambling, no intoxication, etc.? What's going to happen? And how will they understand the message of Srimad Bhagavatam? How will they understand this sublime message? And Prabhupada said, all I can do is repeat your words, and if they hear these words, Shrinvatam, if they hear these words, then they can turn their life around and appreciate a pure devotional service. So make me dance, make me dance, make me dance as you like, Srila Prabhupada said. And so this is what we are being trained to do, how to dance and chant the holy name for Krishna. We'll go on reading then. Text 246. I barely see the clock. My eye's not good enough, so if somebody can yell at me. With that, plenty of time? Okay. Oh, I never read the verse, did I? Okay, 245 was Prabhu Kahe Kon Vidya Vidya Madesar Raya Kahe Krishna Bhakti Vina Vidya Nahiyar. Do we repeat that or no? Okay. Okay, text 246. Kirti Gana Madhye Jivera Kon Bada Kirti Krishna Bhakta Baliya Yanhara Hoy Kayati Kyati. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then asked Ramananda Rai, out of all glorious activities, which is the most glorious? Ramananda Rai replied, that person who is reputed to be a devotee of Lord Krishna enjoys the utmost fame and glory. So, people glorify all sorts of people in this world. But President Kennedy, he had so many followers and he was so well known and so popular and so on, even though his private life was full of illicit sex and whatever. Many different people are glorified in this world, but because they're actually not Krishna conscious, it doesn't mean very much at all. And our perfection is to glorify those who are pure devotees of Krishna without any material motive. Prabhupada says, Nate vidu, I'm sorry, Vishnu, right. They've forgotten, they don't know that the purpose of life is to understand Vishnu, to chant Krishna's name, to become purified, to dance in ecstasy, to swim in the love of Radha and Krishna. They don't know that. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then asked Ramananda Roy, out of all glorious activities, which is the most glorious? Ramananda Roy replied, that person who is reputed to be a devotee of Lord Krishna enjoys the utmost fame and glory. Purport. The thing is that even if a devotee gets the utmost fame and glory, if it goes to his head, he goes down right away. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta over and over said, Trinadapi Suni Chena, you have to have that straw in between your teeth. You have to be more humble than the grass. And in this way, you can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So those who obtain the most fame and glory as devotees of Krishna are actually the most humble. And Prabhupada gave an example one time of a very famous business magnate in India named C.R. Das. And he owned so many companies. He was so wealthy beyond. He had servants, he had cars, he had gold Rolls Royces, he had everything. But he wasn't happy. And one day he was sitting with his wife, and this mendicant came walking along the street, and he looked out the window at him. And he was just very poorly dressed, but he was going along singing the holy name. And you could tell that he was totally immersed in pure love of Krishna. He was walking along the road, and C.R. Das looked out the window and said to his wife, I don't have that. She said, honey, you got everything. We've got everything. We've got it. And he couldn't be pacified. And I can't remember what happened to him, but he died some ignoble death or something like that eventually because he couldn't take it up. Prabhupada said also there was a famous person in England, and one of Prabhupada's godbrothers went to him and his name, you remember? Earl of, okay. Anyway, he asked this godbrother, Srila Prabhupada, okay, how can I become a Brahmin? And the devotee said, well, you have to give up meat eating, you have to give up illicit sex, intoxication. Impossible, he said. Forget it, So anyway, this is our path. Fortunately, we somehow, by the grace of Prabhupada, the grace of Krishna, we're all in this temple room. We're not in a bar somewhere, chanting Hare Krishna, trying to become pure devotees. Hare Krishna. Okay, purport. The greatest reputation a living being can have is to be a devotee of Krishna and to act in Krishna consciousness. In the material world, everyone is trying to be famous by accumulating a large bank balance or material opulence. There's a steady competition among karmis attempting to advance in a wealthy society. The whole world is turning in accordance with that competitive mood. That competition is not only between people, it's between countries, between families, keeping up with the Joneses. My God, the competition is everywhere because people don't try to compete for humility, try to compete for pleasing Krishna. There is a steady competition among karmis attempting to advance in a wealthy society, but this kind of name and fame is temporary, for it lasts only as long as the temporary material body exists. One may become famous as a Brahmagyani, an impersonalist scholar, or one may become a materially opulent person. In either case, such reputations are inferior to the reputation of Krishna's devotee. In the Garuda Purana, it is said, Kalo Bhagavatam Nama Durlabham Naiva Labhyate Brahma Rudra Padotkritsnam Guruna Patitam Mama. In this age of Kali, the fame of one who is known as a great devotee is very rare. However, such a position is superior to that of the great demigods like Brahma and Mahadev. This is the opinion of all spiritual masters. In the Itihasa Samuchaya, Narada tells Pundarik, Janmatra Sahasreshu Yasya Syad Buddhir Idrashi Dasoham Vasudevasya Sarval Lokan Samudarat. After many, many births, when a person realizes he is the eternal servant of Vasudeva, he can deliver all the worlds. In the Adi Purana, in a conversation between Krishna and Arjuna, it is said, Bhaktanam Anugachanti Muktaya Shrutibi Saha. The most exalted position of liberation is given by Vedic knowledge. Everyone follows in the footsteps of the devotee. Similarly, in the Brihan Naradiya Purana, it is further stated, Ajapi cha muni shrestha brahmadaya apidevata. Until now, even the great demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva did not know the influence of a devotee. The Garuda Puranam similarly states, Brahmananam sahasrebhya satra jajij vishishyate satra jaji sahasrebhya sarva vedanta paragaha sarva vedanta vit kotya Vishnu Bhakto Vishishyate Vaishnavanam Sahasrebhya Ekantyeko Vishishyate. It is said that out of thousands of Brahmins, one is qualified to perform sacrifices, and out of many thousands of such qualified Brahmins, the expert in sacrificial offerings, one learned Brahmin may have passed beyond all Vedic knowledge. He is considered the best among all these Brahmins. And yet, out of thousands of such Brahmins who have surpassed Vedic knowledge, one person may be a Vishnu Bhakta, and he is most famous. Out of many thousands of such Vaishnavas, one who is completely fixed in the service of Lord Krishna is most famous. Indeed, a person who is completely devoted to the service of the Lord certainly returns home back to Godhead. This is also the following statement in Srimad Bhagavatam, Shrudasya Pungsang Shuchira Shramasya Nanvanjasa Surabir Editordata Tat Tat Gunanu Shravanam Mukunda Vadaravindam Hudayeshu Jesham. After much hard labor, a person highly learned in Vedic literature certainly becomes very famous. However, one who is always hearing and chanting the glories of the lotus feet of Mukunda within his heart is certainly superior. In the Narayana Bhyaha Stava, it is said, Naham Brahmapi Bhuyasam Tvad Bhakti Rahito Hare Tvaye Bhaktas Tukito Pi Bhuyasam Janma Janmasu. I do not aspire to take birth as a Brahma if that Brahma is not a devotee of the Lord. I shall be satisfied simply to take birth as an insect and have given a chance to remain in the house of the devotee. That was also the prayer of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, if I have to come back, let me at least be born as an insect in the house of a devotee. That's real humility. I do not aspire to take birth as a Brahma. Okay. There are many similar verses in Srimad Bhagavatam, especially 3:25:38, 4:24:29, 4:31:22, 7:9:24, and 10:14:30. It was Lord Shiva who said, I do not know the truth about Krishna, but a devotee of Lord Krishna knows all the truth. Out of all the devotees of Lord Krishna, Prahlad is the greatest. Above Prahlad, the Pandavas are supposedly more advanced. Above the Pandavas are the members of the Yadu dynasty, who are even more advanced. In the Yadu dynasty, Uddhava is the furthest advanced, and above Uddhava are the damsels of Brajadam, the gopis themselves. In the Brihad Vamana Purana, Lord Brahma tells Bhrigu, Shasti Varsha Sahasrani Mae Taptam Tapakpura Nandagopa Brajastrinam Pada Renu Palabdaye. I underwent meditation and austerities for 60,000 years just to understand the dust of the lotus feet of the gopis. Still, I could not understand it. To say nothing of me, even Lord Shiva, Lord Shesha, and the goddess of fortune Lakshmi could not understand it. In the Adi Purana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself says, Na tata me priyatamo brahmarudras chapartiva nacha lakshmir nachatmacha jata gopi janomama. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the goddess of fortune, and even my own self are not as dear to me as the gopis. Of all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the topmost. Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami are the most exalted servitors of Srimati Radharani and Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Those who adhere to their service are known as Rupanuga devotees. Chaitanya Chandramita 26 gives the following statement about Srila Rupa Goswami. Astam Vairagya Kotir Bhavatu Samadama Chanti Maitri Adikotis Tatvanu Dhyana Kotir Bhavatu Va Vaishnavi Bhakti Koti Kotyangso Pi Asya Nasya Tat Api Gunagano Jaswata Swata Siddha Aste Srimak Chaitanya Chandra Priya Charna Naka Jyotir Amoda Bhajan. The qualities of one engaged in the service of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such as reputation, austerities, penances, and knowledge, are not to be compared to the good qualities of others, such as the perfection of a devotee, always engaged in the service of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, Lord Chaitanya gave us the some prayers. He didn't write anything else, but he gave us all those prayers so that we could learn how to become pure devotees. Anybody have any comments or questions? What's the time? How much? Okay. Anybody like to comment on this? So even in our own movement, we have examples of devotees who have paid so much attention to the holy name and chanted with tenacity and absolute devotion. And I mean, we have so many devotees, but Indra stands out as someone who, when he first heard about Krishna consciousness, he was living with his girlfriend, and she popped a book into his lap and said, "Hey, you might be interested in something like this." And it was Sri Upanishad. And he was a musician at the time. He had all these musical instruments. He had very rare guitars and all kinds of other musical instruments. And he read the Sri Upanishad through. And at the end, he decided, oh my God, I'm supposed to give up everything and become a devotee. This is the purpose of life. Just one book. And he told his girlfriend, honey, I'm going to have to leave because I want to become a pure devotee of Krishna. She said, oh my God, what did I do? I gave him this book, you know. And so he took his expensive guitars, and he had a lot of really, really wealthy equipment. And he went to all of his friends and had, here's a Strato Cruiser or whatever it is, you know. Prabhu, I mean, no, you know, what's going on here? I mean, this was your favorite guitar. Take it, you know. Here's another friend. And he gave them all away. And then he left, and he started trying to find devotees, trying to chant Hare Krishna. I mean, talk about instantaneous surrender. And then he finally ran into devotees. And when he saw devotees chanting on the street, he said, there they are. Wow. You know, he went running toward them, and his shoe fell off. And he finally got to the devotees, and they said, hey, your shoe fell off. Hey, I don't care. I want to chant with all of you. anyway, we all know the story. Well, if you don't know the story, you can read the book about him. Great devotee just wrote a wonderful book about him with all sorts of interviews and everything that really reveals the depth of his pure devotion to the holy name and to Srila Prabhupada. And he became an inspiration for so many devotees throughout the movement, especially devotees in Russia and the communist countries and so on. He was such an inspiration. And the 24-hour kirtan, they went back to Moscow and they went back to St. Petersburg and they started their own 24-hour kirtans there. He was such an inspiration. And then you can even read there in the book about how, somebody got him to admit to some of his inner meditations, his inner realizations, and even those are totally worshipable. It's amazing. I mean, things that happened when he was dressing the deities in Vrindavan. So this is a product of Prabhupada's mercy coming to America, writing all these books. And we should take full advantage ourselves and try to become completely purified. Hare Krishna. Time up. Say something. You're more knowledgeable than I am. I can't even hear anything. Hare Krishna. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Our glory to Srila Prabhupada has given us everything. We just take to his society and we'll be transformed. And we won't care a fig for anything else in this world. We won't care a fig for it. We'll only be after the lotus feet of Krishna and the lotus feet of devotees. And our whole aspiration will be to taste that rasa. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said there's two types of ras. There's the material ras and the spiritual ras. So if we're not after the spiritual ras, then we're going to go after material ras, which will be a source of frustration and anxiety. And we'll never be happy. Never be happy. Ate vidu svartagatim vi Vishnu. Hare Krishna.
Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Enam Kanvanda Maravindanalaya Tatam Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddhasundaram Kandar Bhako Vinamaniya Kishesa Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Purusha Namaham Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Namaham Bhajami Andani Yasa Sakale Kriya Pridimanti Vasyanti Vikayanti Gira Praganti Ananda Maya Sadhu Jala Vigrasya Govinda Adi Purusha Namaham Bhajami 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 Govinda Namaham Bhajami Adi Purusha Namaham Bhajami
Page 28. Vinaveka Achihina Gurudev Kripabindu Diya Koro Edashe Vinaveka Achihina Gurudev Kripabindu Diya Koro Edashe Trinaveka Atihina Sakala Sahane Baladia Koro Nijamane Sprihahina Sakala Sahane Baladia Koro Nijamane Sprihahina Gurudev Sakala Samana Korite Shakati Tehonatta Jatta Jata Sakala Samana Korite Shakati Tehonatta Jatta Jata Sabeto Gaibo Harinama Suke Aparada Habehata Sabeto Gaibo Harinama Suke Aparada Habehata Gurudev Kabehe no kripa labie jana kritarta hoibe nata Kabehe no kripa labie jana kritarta hoibe nata Shakti Purihina Miyachidina Koromore Atma Sata Shakti Purihina Miyachidina Koromore Atma Sata Yogata vichare kichunahi pai tomara karuna shara. Yogata vichare kichunahi pai tomara karuna shara. Karuna na hole kandia kandia prananara kiboara. Karuna na hole kandia kandia prananara kiboara. Karuna na hole kandia kandia prananara kiboara. Karuna no hoive gandia gandia kiboara. Gurudev Kripa bindu diya koro edashe Trina bekatina Babindu diya koro edashe Trina bekatina Sakala sahane palandia koro nijamane spiyahina. Sakala sahane palandia koro spiyahina. Jaya Guru Deva, Guru Deva. Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Jaya Guru Deva Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya, 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 Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya, Prabhupada, 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 Jaya, Jaya, Prabhupada. Jaya Patita Pavana Prabhupada Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana Prabhupada Jaya Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada. Gurudev, give this servant just one drop of mercy. I am lower than a blade of grass. Give me all help. Give me strength. Let me be as you are, without desires or aspirations. Gurudev, I offer you all respects, for thus I may have the energy to know you correctly. Then, by chanting the holy name in great ecstasy, all my offenses will cease. Gurudev, when will such mercy fall to this one who is weak and devoid of intelligence? Allow me to be with you. Gurudev, if you examine me, you will find no good qualities. Your mercy is all that I am made of. If you are not merciful unto me, I can only weep, and I will not be able to maintain my life. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur ki jai. Jai! Baba Mahadevagni Nirvapanam Sreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Ananda Buddhivaranam Pratipadam Bornam Nisaswadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Padam Vichayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahudani Sarva Shaktis Amitasmanane nakalaha etajasita vakripan bhagavan mamapi durdaiva midrishanihana ninanuragaha trinadapi sunichena tarorapi sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari nadanam nadanam nasundarim kavitam vachapadishakamaye mama janmini janmanishvare bhavatad bhakti rahatu pitvaye ayinana tatuja kinkaram patitamam vishame bhavam buddho vipaya tava pada pankaja stita duli satisham vinchadaya nayanam kalada shradharaya vadanam gadgada hridagira Ulakarnichitam papupada savanamagrahane bhavishyati yugayitam dineshena chakshusha pravishayitam Sunyayitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me Ashli Shava Padaratam Vinastunam Adarshana Marma Hatam Karutova Vitatava Vidatavampato Matpranasnas Visavana Paraha. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years, extinguish the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction. And thus you have hundreds of millions of names like Krishna. Energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of your kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy name. But I am so unfortunate, no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, will my eyes be decorated with your tears of love? Chant your name. When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu